So we're going to journey as you wish, lower, middle, or upper world, right? Meet your guides, talk to them if you wish. In order to get there, we cultivate a still mind. Okay. If you get lost or your mind is chaotic, come back to the drumming. Go back to the breath, and then allow that breath to guide you either back down, back forward, or up into whatever realm you're looking to journey into today. Okay, everybody, get comfortable. If you're just joining a little bit late before the conversation that I had with Nicole, you might want to turn off as much stimulation in the room as possible. Lights, shut the door, lay down if you can, make sure everything is nice and quiet and still. And I will be back with you in about 25 minutes. Journey well, everybody. And everybody just taking your time to come on back. For the next 10 minutes or so, just journaling about your journey, and we'll come together in about, say, 10 minutes for any Q&A before we wrap up. Should anybody have any questions, just ask away anytime. No worries at all. Just unmute yourself and just ask. All right, everybody, welcome on back. Any questions or any advice needed? Just ask away. Or if anything that anybody wants to share, of course, with the group.
All right, I guess I do have my active mind. So I got to the upper world, but then I just kind of sat there and looked around. I intended to ask a question, but I'm thinking about all the things. So maybe I should write everything down first. So I'm like, okay, set that aside. I don't know. This didn't happen the first like 2 journeys, but.
Well, you were able to get there though. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. There you go. So it could have been then maybe just the eye mask and the need to really kind of decrease those stimuli, those external stimuli, to really help facilitate that journey for you a little bit, Nicole. That's good.
Okay.
Yep. Wonderful. Anybody else want to share anything? Or have any questions? Or did you have any questions on who you may have seen or what you may have seen or experienced? Or
well, my monkey mind was fierce today, and I had, despite wearing a mask and all of that, so I listened to the music, but I journaled instead, and I don't know if that's okay, but it worked.
yeah, I mean, of course it's okay, because if you're journaling, you're letting your subconscious, but hopefully at least, do the writing for you, right? So
Yes.
if the monkey mind is too combative or too difficult to shake, then yeah, it might not be possible to journey at that moment. So the journaling might have been that space for you as well.
It seemed like it was interesting because the monkey mind was more about, I have to go to work after this, which is unusual on a Sunday, prepping for a client meeting. And so that's where, but then when I started journaling, it was not about that at all. It was totally different. And,
Okay.
well, you know.
We always look for the metaphors, right? So even in the journaling, you might go back and read that in a couple of days. You know, I would say, Bonnie, that maybe don't look at that necessarily today or tomorrow, but go back and look at it in a couple of days and see if there's any you know, kind of whispers that come forward in that.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Yep. I think probably everybody here can see what I mean by that from these journeys, that you don't just journey to a place and then somebody comes down and says, this is what you're doing. You're going to do it at this time, this day, this is da. It's always in metaphor, in picture, in story, right? Because we have free will. So that's what we always look out for. So we always look for the meaning behind colors, behind the animals, behind the guides, behind the body sensations. All of that stuff has a meaning to it. Yeah.
Food for thought, for sure.
Yeah. And I've said this before, I think, to a lot of people, but to a lot of you, I mean, if you're looking for the understanding of what you're seeing, you know, animals or guides or whatever, the internet can be quite a good resource for this, actually, because it kind of self-governs, like Wikipedia. You know, a certain animal has a specific meaning, and that's well known because it comes up over and over again for everybody's journeys. So if somebody has that on a website, it should be you should be able to see that same meaning of an owl, for instance, across a number of websites. It's not going to vary because they only have one meaning, right? So don't be afraid of looking that up. But usually with metaphysical things, I'm not advising that anybody look these things up because they can be all over the place. But at least with guides and with spirit animals and things, it's usually pretty consistent.
Bruce, you mentioned sensations in the body. So I did feel like some releases on the right side of my body. So can releases and healing happen in these types of things then?
That's exactly what this whole thing is.
Okay.
Right? The connection to the upper and lower middle worlds or realms, wherever you'd like to be going, the facilitation of that connection is the surrendering of the body, letting go of the body, right? And so letting go of the body is healing in action. And so you can imagine, Well, like as that tension leaves perhaps the right side of the body, and as you're connected to the upper realms, right, you might be hearing a guide, maybe an archangel or something, giving you advice. And more often than not, what that advice is helping you understand what you're releasing at that moment, or what you're working through. The right side is masculine, right? And then you could think about maybe what general chakra area it was on, or if it was coming through the entirety of the body. If you knew it was coming, like I quite often have it coming up very specific meridians. So you might want to look into, if you felt like a very, very specific line running up the body, then that's going to be a meridian. And you can look into that. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is and I think, to me anyways, that's the crux of Reiki as well. If we can get out of the way, then all of the stuff we hold on to will leave the body, and that's us healing, right?
Awesome. I love it.
Nice job. Anything else? Yep, Peter.
I have a question. This is moving forward a little bit, but we've been talking about doing the plant medicine class, and I'm just wondering if you have any schedule for when that's going to happen.
Yeah, actually, thanks for bringing that up. I think that is, let me just look at the calendar. I think that's the 23rd or 24th. It's in 2 weeks. Let me just check. I'm just loading up my calendar here.
It looks like it's the 24th at 9.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
But I'm glad Peter brought that up, because I'm super like having some anxiety about it.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So can you speak to it a little bit more? Give me a little more information.
Absolutely. So I won't ask this question to anybody specifically, like even though Nicole has raised the question. You want to initially think about your familiarity with marijuana, with weed, right? You want to think about, have you used it before? Is it brand new to you? If you've used it, does it cause anxiety? When have you used it? And so on. The plant itself is nothing to be afraid of. And as we guide into this experience, what I'm going to be doing is coaching you through the inhalation of the plant. You're only going to be taking as much as you feel comfortable with. And we're going to hold space and ceremony for the practice prior to the inhalation. And then I'm going to guide you at the beginning of the meditation. So, and I'll be with you the entire time. It'll be about 2 hours or so. And when it's met with respect, and when it's met with humility and reverence and love, then you start to journey with it, right? If there's anxiety or there's fear or there's worry or whatever, that's us not understanding how to let go, and it's normal and completely natural to be a little bit intimidated or fearful or whatever of the session itself. That's where it takes all of you, if you're going to participate, to know your limits and know your amount that you would consume, right? If you haven't smoked for a long time, you might only take 2 or 3 hits, and then that would be it. And then you just journey together, and we all journey in that space. I'm going to be completely sober as I lead, most likely. I might take a little bit. Last time I was in Bozeman, and I led this live with people. The guide that I have, whatever the voice that I have, I've never really had an idea of what it is, but it was telling me that I needed to smoke to be fully present for the journey. So that I can't say that I'm going to be completely sober, but my mindset at this point would be that I'll be sober. But regardless of that, I will be fully present and guiding all of you. And the way that it would look is something similar to this here on Zoom. I'll have everybody muted, and should there be any specific issues or anything that's being raised at that point, then I'll be there obviously to support. But what I can most likely say is going to happen is you're going to be guided into an experience that may be very new to you, or a communication or utilization of the plant that might be very new to you. And it's going to facilitate a meditation space that is very deep and very, it helps to dissipate that veil between our conscious self and our kind of subconscious or, other realms, right? It kind of evaporates that veil a little bit, and we can surrender into the flow of that. So that's how it's going to kind of look. Of course, everybody has to source their own product. And I would say, you know, if you have it, I would suggest that you use a vaporizer, because then you can control the heat, the temperature that you burn this at. If you combust weed fully, like by smoking it normally out of a pipe or a joint or whatever, then you're getting all of the THC, right? And so it can be really quite intense. Whereas if you have a vaporizer and you put that down to maybe like 325 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever, you're only getting maybe half of the THC, and it's a much smoother experience. It's a much more mellow experience. So it's not as overwhelming, right? So it's all completely based on your familiarity and your comfort with it, right? If you can recognize that the plant, first off, it's safe, obviously. The experience is going to be safe, and you're going to be able to surrender into a meditation practice that is going to be potentially very profound. If you can let go into that understanding, then you'll be totally fine, right? And if there's resistance, then I'm here to help guide you through that.
That's helpful. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. And it is in the morning. The morning was requested because then, if people have kids that are around or whatever, there might be a little bit more free time for your space to be quiet and undisturbed. And then the entire experience itself, you could imagine it's going to be about 2 hours until total sobriety again, right? And that you're not going to have any hangovers from it. You're not going to have, the rest of your day isn't going to be incapacitated or anything like that. You'll be fine. Does that answer your question there, Peter? Cool. All right, everybody. Well, we have a hot seat coming up with me on Tuesday, I believe it is. It's off the top of my mind. I mean, it's on the calendar. I'm looking forward to that. So that is an opportunity for you to bring any questions that you have to me for the journeying that we're doing, the clairvoyance coaching that you're doing, anything that you are working on at this time and in your journey with wellness, then that's where you can all put the burner under my butt and pick my brain a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, everybody. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, as always, and I'll see you soon. Be well, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.